The latest part of this new NIL rev share saga is out there, and I hope Auburn's ready to pivot.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Happy Recruiting Thursday. We're joined by Brian Smith of The Portal. That's Locked On's recruiting, NIL, transfer portal show, and boy, we're going to talk about all those things today. Is Auburn trending in the right direction? Bralan Womack to Auburn seems to be gaining some steam. How legitimate is that? We'll get Brian's thoughts on it. But the biggest story, the national story happening right now, and all of the folks who cover college football nationally, especially with the NIL side of it, have reported it and written about it and all that, is now collectives are being viewed as any other third-party business or company. And so this assumption that all these players were getting these offers that Auburn felt like they couldn't compete with, my understanding of it is John Cohen and Auburn as a whole were acting as if, okay, if the third-party NIL deal was set up through the university, which is hinting at a collective, then it would count towards the cap. That does not seem to be the case anymore. We heard John Cohen talk to the media right before it was Auburn's day at SEC Media Days. He said that if they need to pivot, that they can, and that Auburn is in a spot that is willing to do whatever it takes to win. So to me, that says that they've got a backup plan ready to go, Brian. But I'm curious to see how quickly we can possibly see this pivot in real time.
Here's the question. Is it going to work after all the official visits are over? So for those that don't know, like an official visit, it is all encompassing. Your family comes, sometimes a coach comes, and it's on Auburn's dime. It's different after you've had kids in for OVs and they've quote unquote made a decision. This is obviously the weirdest year for recruiting ever, and it will never be surpassed because it's first year for all this stuff.
Sure.
But there's no precedent. We have no idea because this is the first and only time it's going to happen. So how does Auburn backtrack on, 10, 15 guys that they really want?
Yeah.
Without OVs for the vast majority of them because they've already taken OVs. But the money is probably your biggest question. I will be shocked if Auburn's collective doesn't have the money to, quote unquote, make it competitive for players A through Z, that they're still going to recruit and try to, quote unquote, flip.
Yeah.
That part I'm not worried about.
Right. I don't think it's ever been about Auburn not having money. I think it's been questions of like, can we actually give the kids
the
money within the rules? Other schools have been operating that way. Now it seems like nothing was really wrong with them as long as it gets to that NIL go, that third party, all that stuff, it gets it approved. It seems like you're good to go. And so, what is fair market value? I think that's a totally different conversation for another day because I don't think that's fully even really been defined. We're going to need more data to figure that out because some people are getting turned down. Their fair market value in this Deloitte firm, like some deals are getting turned down. And so what does that mean? Genuinely curious to see long-term what that could mean. But as far as how Auburn's been operating, it seems like over the last 4 days, I want to say 4 or 5 days, week, maybe, it does seem like there's been positive momentum when it comes to one, obviously getting Jaquez Wilkes, which you and I have not discussed that since that's happened. But also, like, it seems like Jace Matthews, as his decision gets closer and closer, that Auburn's trending in the right direction. Same with Bralan Womack, the 5-star safety. Same with Deron Parks, an offensive lineman that you and I have talked about for months, Brian. Like, some of it is those guys' decision dates are getting closer. But it also does seem like Auburn is trending for a lot of these big, uncommitted targets.
Yeah, that's a big deal, too, because the timing, like you said, is that coincidental? I doubt it.
Probably not.
So
probably not.
This is how it works in recruiting. They can say whatever they want publicly, but everything is done behind closed doors through third parties, et cetera, to tell kids what's going on. If it's, you can't come on campus right now, it's a dead period, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But all these guys we're talking about, they visited Auburn. So you're at least in the game. The OV thing is a bit of a problem, but a lot of these guys, Auburn was in the second place, third place for at one point in time or another, and you just keep recruiting kids. And if you add more NIL on top of it, which we're both totally all in expecting Auburn to do, you can move up. So I was told by a few different players that Auburn's offer this month or two ago was way lower than some of the others. And they were offended. Like, I'll just be blunt. They were offended. We're understanding why now. I'm glad Cohen was a pretty honest guy and Freeze was honest about it.
I think the way they handled it publicly was good.
Yeah,
because it kind of told everybody it's not an effort thing. It's this is our understanding of the rules or whatever.
Right.
So then you've got to hope. I know you just mentioned the word offended there by some of these kids, but surely they explain this is our interpretation of the rules, and if it doesn't change, we can get to that number that the other schools are at. You got to assume that came up in the conversation. I hope.
Well, there's two parts to that. One, you're talking about 17-year-olds, and their ability to communicate is probably not the same as you and I. That's first. And second, a lot of these conversations are really with the adults in the room, and the kid is just given the basic information. So I didn't get all the data. I'd rather talk to the dad or the mom or the business partner, no offense to the recruit, and I'd have got more information. So take that for a grain of salt. And that'll be explained now anyway. And they can be like, oh, okay, now I get it. And if they don't, then they probably don't need to be a part of your program anyway. It's
fair.
It just is what it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, my gut reaction is okay, let's see how Auburn is going to pivot. But I think they already have. I'm getting the feeling that they've already pivoted, which that magic date was August 1st. I think we learned answers for everything before August 1st. I know a few weeks ago, you and I did a show and you made the comment Auburn's recruiting season starts on August 1st. I think it started a few days ago because now I think they're kind of playing by the same rules that everybody else is. And I don't think it was that anybody else was doing anything wrong. I think it was Auburn, whether Cohen was told by somebody or I don't know. But, Auburn's ranked really low in recruiting right now. And I do think that'll change over the next few weeks.
The question is which kids come. This is where it gets fun because, like you said, a few of the deals just randomly will get axed. That could cause some problems for schools. Auburn's obviously not going to be one of those because they were lower in their offers anyway.
Right.
But some other schools, there could be kids that you and I have never discussed on Locked On Auburn that end up all of a sudden available, for lack of a better term. There's going to be some wild stuff. And I don't know who it's going to be. It will be random. But they're also the kids that maybe they committed to Georgia or Clemson or whatever in Auburn. Hey, just so you know, we have this offer now. Do with it what you will. Yeah. There's going to be somebody take it that we're not talking about now. And again, I have no idea who it is.
I mean, look at what happened with Peyton Falzone, right? I mean, the quarterback flip from Penn State. It just happened.
Maybe that was the first guy.
Maybe.
I mean, I have no way of verifying that. That might have just been, we just definitely want a quarterback in this class. I don't know.
Right.
But all of a sudden, Penn State's got money. That's not any newsflash. So Auburn's going to come in with a low ball offer and get him? I don't see that. So
yeah, in hindsight, that does seem to make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
And a storyline was, he was just the second quarterback to be a part of the class, and he didn't want that. I'm like, well, he committed after the other quarterback. So the timeline there doesn't the logic's not bad, but the timeline doesn't make sense with it.
He's an in-state kid for Penn State too. Believe me, that's a big deal in Pennsylvania. So my guess is the offer is very competitive, if not Auburn having the better offer. Don't know the kids, but
perhaps so. So we'll see. Does this all matter? And also Bralan Womack. What's the latest with him? That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. Brian, Auburn's first game on the road in Waco Friday night to kick off both of those teams' seasons. Auburn a 2.5-point favorite. Gut reaction, way too early, go.
I would take Auburn and give the points because I just don't think they'll be able to cover Auburn. The wide receivers, I just don't think that Baylor is going to be able to. No, Baylor's got a good offense, but 2.5 is not enough.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5. You get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. For your second listen, check out The Portal with Brian Smith. He's talking about this type stuff all the time, and Auburn comes up a good bit because they're fascinating in all of this. And Brian lives in Auburn, and he knows a lot of these kids. So, as far as Bralan Womack, 5-star safety, his name has popped up about 2 weeks ago, and it just has not gone away. Brian, first tell us about Womack, the player, and then 2, tell us what you're hearing about, maybe his recruitment to Auburn.
First off, as a player, I've seen him multiple times, 7-on-7 tournaments, big tournaments, and physically he's put together. He's got a sister who's, I believe, here now at Auburn, if I remember correctly. And his family, his family doesn't really care if he stays close to home or not. He's from Jackson, Mississippi, been a national recruit for years. Grew up an Ohio State fan, which is random for a kid from Mississippi, and that's where we all thought he was going to go. But there hasn't been any chatter about that program here lately, the way it normally has. It's not like Ohio State's missing out on DBs, by the way. But Auburn, this could be another point from the first segment. I wonder if the offer is different now than it was, say, in May. Because we didn't hear this chatter May, early June. I mean, he was on the board, and I'd mentioned him to you, but we didn't think that he was going to sign with the Tigers. All of a sudden, it's changed. Again, the signs make sense. You can put 2 and 2 together. But as a player, nickel, free safety, whatever you want, elite academic kid. So at the back of your defense, he can be the brains. And he's a kid you want on your campus, too. He's a good dude.
Is it dramatic for me to say that getting a guy like Womack is a class changer if he were to commit?
Not really, because in today's college football, there are a few positions that are really hard to find guys that can do the mental and physical. Safety now, because of RPO game and stuff, it's
a lot.
Oh, man. It's calculus. There's no algebra here. It's calculus. So if you're going to win, you got to have guys at the back end of your defense that can make changes not only to what they're doing, but get guys in the right spots because somebody's lined up. Womack, I can just telling you, from being around him, being around his dad, etc., great family, he will be that kind of guy. Whether it's Auburn or not, we don't know yet, but I think he can play early. And I know Auburn is, I don't know, Zach, Auburn might be more loaded at safety than they are at receiver, which is kind of crazy to say, but it's in the conversation.
Defensive back as a whole, it's stacked. And they're young. They'll be stacked there next year, too. I mean, I'm just thinking, if Womack were to commit to Auburn and sign in December, and he was a freshman in 2026, Caleb Harris will still be on the team. Eric Winters, Fagans, Sylvester Smith has eligibility. I mean, you just talk about just the safety room. Yeah, that's tremendous.
But he's the kind of guy that will at least, quote unquote, push for playing time and push the pile forward because he's very competitive in everything he does. You can never have enough of those guys. So, I think he is. Plus, I'm just going to say it. When Auburn does well in recruiting historically, they've always stolen a few guys out of Mississippi. This is a kid that was recruited by everybody. He had offers from everybody up north, Ohio State, Notre Dame, you name it. He's a really good player, man.
So it's, and maybe I'm asking this because I'm literally sitting in Columbus, Ohio right now as we have this conversation. It's kind of amazing though. And we've seen it a few times over the year. They flipped Kayan Lee from Ohio State to Auburn. They flipped, I don't think it was technically a flip, but Blake Woodby from Ohio State to Auburn. I think he actually decommitted, but still a recruiting battle. And now you've got Deron Parks, whose decision is coming up, and then Bralan Womack, who seems to be, Auburn or Ohio State. Is this just recruiting being national, or is this just kind of a fluky thing where Auburn and Ohio State are going after the same guys? And let's not forget, Ohio State tried to hire away DJ Durkin this offseason. I mean, what a weird parallel between Columbus and Auburn. It's very odd to me.
That is a great point. I didn't realize there were that many, but that's true. And recruiting, for the record, is national. There are
we also beat them in basketball last year. If we're just keeping score of everything, we beat them in basketball.
If you look at the top 20 recruiting classes, whichever company you want, the vast majority, if you go into them, most schools now recruit outside the state.
Yeah.
Auburn too.
Right.
Didn't used to necessarily be that way, but that's part of it. But Mississippi kids, when I was growing up, man, Ohio State didn't recruit Mississippi kids.
No.
You know what I mean? It's just not that way. Now, Auburn obviously did because it's next door, but now Auburn sometimes goes up north. They'll offer a kid from Pennsylvania, quarterback.
Do you think the national recruiting thing, do you think that's NIL and portal, or do you think it's just more of that's just who we are as a society, right? I mean, not to get too deep or philosophical, but I mean, with social media and technology, like you're just able to create relationships so much more and gather information from afar so much more. Like, do you think it's related to all these changes in college athletics, or is it more of a technological type thing?
I think technology's first because people are more comfortable with areas away from them. Like if you're from a small town in Mississippi or Alabama or something, 15 years ago, there was no way in the world, even if you were an elite recruit, you were going to Ohio State. Your family and you wouldn't have been comfortable. But the way things have changed, that's just different. Everybody feels more open to it. When I was a kid, like 80% of the top recruits in Florida signed with the big three. Right now it's at about 33 to 40%.
Wow.
It's just totally different. So, and then finally,
you mentioned to me, I don't know if this is still the case, but you asked me the stat off the air last week, and you said it was Oklahoma and Michigan didn't have one player in their class in state. Now, I don't know if that's still the case or not, but like that's still amazing to me.
Right. Because like Oklahoma and Michigan may not be top 5 nationally or anything, but they always have 5-10 kids that can play for the Wolverines or Sooners. They have goose eggs.
And it's probably intentional, which is amazing, which is very odd to me. I mean, especially when you're coming off of, the last like recruiting cycle from the Auburn point of view, the messaging was own the state, dominate the state. And now they're not. And some of that is, Alabama seems to be more interested in the state this cycle. And some of it also just seems to be Auburn's looking elsewhere. It's super interesting. Just the dynamics of all of it. Everybody's strategy is so different.
I think
and it changes from year to year, school to school, it seems.
Part of it is what I like to call the Saban effect, because while he recruited well in state, anything he did, everybody tried to copy. And Alabama suddenly started recruiting Texas kids, California. As soon as Nick did something, everybody else followed suit. You got to about 2017, 2018, everything slowly started. And now everybody, even like Auburn is as traditional recruit local as there is in the country. And they got kids from California on their roster now. Like They didn't have any of those kids when Pat Dye was there. You know what I mean? It's just totally different.
Yeah, they weren't pulling, DeAndre Carter from Matter Day. Yeah, that's right.
No,
that's
they
right.
were not.
Yeah. They are now, thankfully, which is very, very fun. All right. Is Auburn trending up, though? I mean, we've talked about all these kids. Like, it seems like they're in a good spot for a lot of them. We discuss in just a second right here on Locked On Auburn. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. I just want to kind of list these guys, and I want you to tell me like the likelihood, the confidence that you have in Auburn pulling off the commitments from some of these kids. So let's start with some of the guys we've already talked about. Bralan Womack. Where would you rank Auburn among schools to land Womack, the 5-star safety?
At least 50%. If you're at 50% in a recruitment like that, you're ahead of the curve.
You take it. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, you take it for sure. I think Jeffrey Lee on his hot board had him at 55%. It was like, yeah, okay, I would take that. If like we got the majority, I would absolutely take that. All right, let's stay with the Ohio State conversation then. Deron Parks, a guy who you've been talking to about Auburn specifically for a long time.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Again, the Ohio State thing is weird. Florida State, a bunch of other schools are after him. But when I interviewed him back at Under Armour, he just kind of glowed about Auburn.
Yeah. He's
still trying to quote unquote decide, but the person I trust most on it told me he thinks it'll be Auburn. So I'm going to go over 50. I'm going to go 60% Tigers.
Okay. All right. Jace Matthews.
When he signs, I don't know where he's going to commit and where he signs. Those are two different things. That one, man, I don't want to touch. I would say Ole Miss, LSU, Auburn, all 33%, just because I think that one's going to go back and forth.
Yeah, and that might be one that
that's
Auburn's not going to back off.
Yeah,
but like they need another receiver. Like they need to get a receiver like that. Is it Jace? Do they keep pushing for Marquez Daniel? I don't think Devin Carter's coming back. Do they push more for Denarius Gray? Try to get him back from Kentucky? I don't know. There's plenty of options. I don't think any of those are crazy.
Right.
I would say CD is probably the least likely of all those. Then maybe Devin Carter for two different reasons. But I do think like Auburn's going to have to push at some point for one of those top wide receivers in this class.
Jace makes probably as much sense, if not more than anybody else, because he is such an incredibly gifted athlete. I've said it before. I'll say it again. He might be the most physically gifted, just pure athlete in this class, regardless of position.
Yeah.
Like jumping ability, hand-eye, all that stuff. He's raw, but like Cam's only going to be here 3 years. Yeah, there's 0% chance he's playing his senior year barring injury. So you got to have another guy that's capable of playing all over the place. The team's got to pay attention to. So here's your chance.
What do you know about Caden Johnson? I think he goes by KK Johnson. His father played at Auburn, committed to Texas A&M. I guess he plays quarterback at his high school, but a lot of people think he's a tight end at the next level. He's a name that over the last 10 days, last week or so, people keep bringing him up to me.
That kid is really unique. I think he can play quarterback. He's massive.
Where is he from, Brian? Do you know?
Greater Houston area. Houston.
Okay.
Yeah. He's playing against legit competition, but like if you didn't see his high school jersey on and he walked out on the field and he had a Steelers jersey on, you'd say, yeah. Like he looks like he's 25 years old, like shoulders. Like he's 230 pounds, 240 pounds. And he's got a big arm. This is just a guy that A&M's projecting. I heard tight end for him there. I could see a lot of G5 schools, especially saying, come play quarterback for us, or Vandy saying, come play quarterback for us. And to be honest, he's very similar to the quarterback that Auburn has committed because athletically he could run around and stuff, and he's a tank. So I would, if I'm Auburn, you can't lose with this. I would give him a chance to at least play it. But if he ends up at defensive end or tight end, because he's 230, 240, that's also a possibility. I love having wild card players like that you can plug in somewhere because he could make guys miss. He can run over them, and he's got a cannon for an arm. There's going to be a spot for him somewhere. I don't know much about his recruitment, but if A&M wanted him, and by the way, they wanted him early, they do their due diligence. I trust Mike Elko. That's also a good sign. They're going to know about the Houston kids because they're an hour and a half from campus. So yeah, that makes sense too.
It's tough to have this conversation without adding a million caveats because it's so nuanced. Like when you look at recruiting rankings, because volume is such a big part of it. And the word is Auburn's going to have a smaller class. So they're limited as far as like how high they could go up rankings if they're truly only taking 15 or 16 guys. So under that assumption, Brian, is there a number from a class ranking standpoint where like if Auburn was at this ranking heading into the start of the football season, you say, hey, all things considered, that's a win?
Top 35 would be about where I would go, but I'm just going by you telling me they're going to have a smaller class. Two things here, like 24/7 just does pure math, like just numbers, they add it up. There you go. So if you have a bigger class for them, it's way different. On3 ranks it differently, way differently. There's more speculation, more player average and all that. So you probably be a little higher for them. But the more important number for me, and this has been the way for 50 years, how good are your top 8 to 10 recruits? Are they upper echelon SEC players? That's just a checkbox. And do you have some balance? Do you have at least a couple offensive linemen you really like, D-line, et cetera, a Jace Matthews, a Womack? Yeah. That's what you really got to look at in any class. And then if you get past 10, then you're like, okay, we hit the jackpot. Like this past class, Auburn was way past 10. They got 14, 15 guys in that class that might don an NFL jersey in some capacity, even if it's just for a year.
They'll get a shot. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I would look at it. Then next year, the more important class for Auburn is 27. Because if you have a smaller class now, you got to go polar opposite the following season.
Yeah. And in 27, you'll either have proof of concept or you won't.
Or you won't. Yeah, you may have a different coach. I mean, if it goes really south, it could.
If it goes really south enough, sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, the 27, whoever the coach is, has got to recruit his butt off because the numbers and all that. There'll be some really big recruiting weekends in the spring next year for the Auburn Tigers, regardless, because that'll be a pivotal year for the Tigers.
You're right. Yeah, the sales pitch gets way tougher if you only go 7-5, I think.
Yeah, they got to win at least 8.
For sure.
And they need to win one of those games that perceptionally it matters. And we all know which games those are.
Yep, no doubt. No doubt. They're all at home, which will help. Brian, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Locked on the Portal, talking a little bit about the stuff we started this show with. I'm going to have a show on that tomorrow, trying to get as much data as I can before I put it up. But that's the most important thing in college football right now.
Yeah.
The programs that, like we think Auburn is pivoting well, there are some others that I don't think are, and they're going to really be unhappy in about 3 years. When you miss in recruiting, about 3 years later, you miss on the field. So locked on the Portal. Oh,
yep,
yeah.
the Portal can only do so much. That's right. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.